We hear those stories all the time, right? The programmer who starts a coffee roasting company, or the accountant who launches a massively successful Etsy shop. It's the modern dream, isn't it? Turning a passion project, a side hustle, into a full-fledged business. But what does that journey actually look like, beyond the inspiring headlines? Okay, let's dive into this. Because the path from a side hustle to a sustainable business is paved with high hopes, but also some incredibly harsh truths. And yeah, that's the reality check we have to start with. This isn't meant to be a downer, not at all. It's about getting real about what's at stake. See, most side hustles don't fail because the idea was bad. They fail because the thinking behind them was, well, kind of shallow. They start with this huge burst of excitement, but almost never have a solid strategy. So we're going to break down why so many of them fizzle out, and way more importantly, what gives a side hustle a real fighting chance to survive and actually thrive. So let's start at the beginning, with the dream itself. I mean, what is it that drives someone to trade their evenings and weekends, not for relaxing, but for more work? It's a huge question, and the answer isn't as simple as just, I need more money. This data pretty much blows up the whole myth that side hustles are purely about cash. According to a Hiscox study of successful entrepreneurs, the number one driver for 54% of them was just pure personal zeal. For another 30%, it was that lifelong dream of owning their own business. And for 24%, it was about finally getting to follow a passion. Yeah, the money's important, obviously, but a lot of the time, it's a byproduct of a much deeper, more personal mission. And this stat really shows you the depth of that dream. For 55% of the people who actually made the leap, their new business wasn't just a tiny step away from their 9 to 5. No way. It was in a completely different field. This isn't about becoming a consultant in your current industry. We're talking about the marketing manager who starts a bakery or the lawyer who becomes a woodworker. It's a fundamental life change, totally fueled by that desire to build something that is 100% their own. All right, so we've seen the dream. Now let's talk about the grind. Because while the vision is inspiring and all, the reality, well, that's measured in hours, dollars, and just sheer persistence. This is where the dream meets the spreadsheet, and let me tell you, it can be a brutal collision. Just let that number sink in for a minute. 19 months. That's over a year and a half of juggling. We're talking long nights after your day job is done, working while your friends are out, literally building your future on the scraps of leftover time. This is not an overnight decision. It is a long, strategic battle. So what do those 19 months actually feel like? They feel like an extra 20 hours of work every single week. That's a whole part-time job stacked right on top of your full-time career. And most people aren't doing this during work hours. A massive 72% are sacrificing their weekends for this. A 60-hour work week just becomes the norm. And that requires an insane level of discipline and sacrifice. And then there's the financial gate you have to get through. Before these entrepreneurs felt like they could safely cut the cord from their day job, their side hustle needed to be pulling in, on average, just under $44,000 a year. This isn't quit your job on a whim money. This is a real, stable income stream that proves the business can actually stand on its own 2 feet before you take that ultimate risk. But listen to this. Even after you make that leap, the financial journey is nowhere near over. It takes an average of 3 full years for the new business to generate the same income the person was making at their old job. 3 years. It's just a stark reminder that this whole thing is a marathon, not a sprint. The leap is just the beginning of a long, long climb back to where you were financially. Okay, so you've got this intense passion, this incredible grind. You'd think that combination would pretty much guarantee success, right? Wrong. Most side hustles still just quietly fade away. And the reasons they fail, it's usually not a lack of talent or a bad idea. As we're about to see, it's almost always a breakdown in the execution. And here it is, a clear picture of why things go wrong. People build stuff based on trends, not real problems. They get distracted by shiny object syndrome, jumping from one new idea to the next without ever gaining any real traction. They make a great product but have zero plan to let anyone know it exists. They expect to make 10 grand in 90 days, and when it doesn't happen, they quit. And at the very root of it all is the single biggest killer. They treat it like a hobby. This slide right here is the absolute core of the whole issue. On the left, you've got the hobbyist. They work when they feel inspired. Their goals are kind of vague. Their motivation is excitement, which, as we all know, fades. It's casual. But then on the right, you have the business owner. They have a schedule, they have specific, measurable goals, and they're driven by systems that work even on the days they don't feel like it. The most crucial thing to get is this: your income responds to structure, not to excitement. And this is what that shift actually looks like. It's about creating secret hours for your work. It's about building a plan, tracking your money, marketing consistently. It's about showing up with intention even when it's 10 p.m. and all you really want to do is binge watch a show. That discipline, right there, is what turns a casual experiment into a cash-flowing asset. Okay, so knowing all the pitfalls, how do you actually bridge that gap? How do you go from a hobby that just costs you time to a business that actually builds you freedom? Well, it's not magic, it's a playbook, and it really comes down to a clear 4-step process. And here it is, 4 simple but not easy steps. First, solve a real, painful problem. Second, build your distribution so people can actually find you. Third, master your finances so you don't run out of gas. And fourth, play the long game with a whole lot of patience and persistence. Let's break each one down real quick.
All right, step 1. You've got to stop asking what's trending and start asking what's painful. The market doesn't reward hype, it rewards solutions. Is there a problem out there that's recurring, or expensive, or just deeply annoying for a specific group of people? That is where sustainable businesses are born. Passion is great, but passion without a real market demand is just a very, very expensive hobby.
But even the best solution in the world is useless if no one knows it exists. You see, the internet doesn't reward the best idea, it rewards the best visible idea. Building an audience, whether that's through social media or SEO or an email list, that's not something you do after you build the product. It is part of the product. Creation without distribution is just invisible effort. Next up, you absolutely need the fuel to keep going. A huge reason businesses fail is they simply run out of money. So before you leap, you need a safety net, at least 6 to 12 months of living expenses saved up. You have to keep your personal and business finances separate from day one, no excuses. And crucially, you have got to get over the fear of charging what you're actually worth. Undercharging is a fast track to burnout. And finally, you have to completely adjust your timeline. So many people quit because their business didn't explode in 90 days. But real, solid traction often takes a year, maybe 18 months of just consistent effort. It's like going to the gym 3 times, not seeing a six-pack, and declaring fitness is a scam. Speed is seductive, for sure, but the real magic is in compounding. Small, consistent efforts stack up over time into massive, massive results.
So, we've seen the dream, we've felt the grind, and we've walked through the playbook. And all of this brings us to the final, and honestly, the most important question. It's the one you have to ask yourself with total honesty.
This quote just nails the whole thing. A lottery ticket is a game of luck. It's driven by hype, and you're expecting this fast, massive payout. A slow-burning investment, on the other hand, is a game of strategy. It's driven by systems, and it's built on the power of compounding and patience. One is a gamble, the other is a business. And that's the question I want to leave you with. Are you chasing a quick win, just hoping to get lucky? Or are you willing to do the unglamorous, consistent work week after week to build a real asset? Because your answer to that one question, well, it will determine everything.